Sim racers, welcome to the eRacing Association, where you have the chance to win $5,000 in one of the best tournaments in all of sim racing. Green flag in the air.
Are you ready to reach the next level of sim racing? The eRacing Association's epic Omega Cup Series lets you win big.
Is he gonna throw the block?
Racing with ERA lets you compete for huge cash prizes, get exclusive merch, exclusive sim hardware pricing, and potentially turn your virtual dreams into reality. Feel the rush as you race door to door against sim racers just like yourself, all from the comfort of your own home.
Straight away, they're an idiot. Oh, they're wrecking! They're wrecking!
Join now to get your membership and experience all of the excitement that the eRacing Association has to offer at www.eragaming.gg.
Celebration, he hangs on.
Oh my God! Son, this is a Navy base, not a playground.
Sir, have a look.
So you think you got what it takes to fly with the Navy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll give you one shot. Bring him in.
Hey, can I get another cocktail?
Gentlemen, you are here because NASCAR wants you to have a street race on this base.
Hey, this is pretty sick, huh?
Oh, you think this is sick? If you want to race here, you got to show honor, courage, and commitment. You boys think you know speed? You haven't felt real speed. They're gonna flip you. They're gonna twist you. And just when you think you've reached your limit, they're gonna punch a hole in the sky and drag you with them.
Hey, Clyde, you gonna do some of that pilot shit? Can't be any worse than you're driving. Sick bird, Peaches.
Speaking of sick,
The Bernard Carpenter's not gonna like that. Hey, boys, I feel the need. I feel the need. Seriously, guys. Need for speed. Speed. Does this thing go any faster? Oh, shit. Hell yeah, boy.
Not bad up there, gentlemen. But let's see how you handle this next mission. This is NASCAR street course, and that is the Navy security force. You make it to the finish line without getting caught, and you have my respect.
look at this turn right
We need
here.
to split up.
Let's just steal one of these fucking helicopters over here.
Dude, we're so done.
We're screwed.
Thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Why did we not bring SVG? Guys, I got an idea. Lights on! You think we can outrun them?
It ain't the car, it's the driver.
Man, this course is sick. Boys, we're almost to the finish line. We lost him! Got him!
Gentlemen, we set the standard, and you matched it. And I am pleased to say that you belong here with us on this sacred ground.
Let's get to work on bringing NASCAR to the Navy.
Hey guys, I'm Indy Next champion Dennis Hauger, and you're watching Drafting the Circuits.
I am born to do this. It is my true passion. I stare into the dark at night and dream about it. On game day, my muscles twitch and my mind races. I live for this. It's my calling. I am an American bucking bull. And this is my sport. PBR bucks into SNHU Arena December 12th and 13th. Get your PBR Manchester tickets today at Ticketmaster.com.
Think so.
And he can hear you right now. Let's go!
I'm just in awe at how
good the guys are riding. We are being treated to the best bull riding you want to watch right here.
Max, grab this one here. Well, unbelievable. Congratulations. You've been the reigning world champion since Abu Dhabi 2021, and you still are. You're still in the game for this year's World Championship.
Yeah, this was an incredible race for us. We made the right call there as a team to box on a safe car, and yeah, that was.
How you guys doing?
And of course,
good. Yourself?
Super happy.
Oh, not too bad.
We stay, of course,
I'm here talking to you, and I realized, oh, I don't have my fucking headset
incredible.
on.
Your pace was great. You could keep the McLarens in sight all the time.
I think, of course, it was a little bit offset because of it all. But for us, I think it was a strong race on a weekend where I think it was a little bit tough. But yeah, we still raced, and that was the most important.
When McLaren didn't pit, did you think, I can do this?
Yeah, I was like, that's an interesting move.
What we got this week, so yeah, basically it's only the F1 stuff that's still going, isn't it, really?
So you yeah, F1 live 25 laps as well, where it's very hot around here, but luckily it all worked out.
Thank you. Oscar, 2, you gave your best, you closed within 8 seconds, you had to make that extra pit stop up, but it wasn't enough on the night.
Yeah, you know, clearly we didn't get it tonight. I drove the best race that I could as fast as I could, and yeah, there was nothing left out there, so tried my best, but wasn't tonight, unfortunately.
Do you think the team maybe should have split the strategy, or obviously now hindsight, you'd like to come in on that safety car?
I think in hindsight it's pretty obvious what we would have done, but I'm sure we'll discuss it as a team.
But once again, you're still very much in the championship hunt.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's not all bad, obviously. It's been a really good weekend. The pace has been very strong, but yeah, obviously a little bit tough to swallow at the moment.
So, Carlos, I am so happy for you, so happy for your team. What a brilliant drive. Once again, onto the podium for Williams. Congratulations.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you say. What you said, Martin.
I said I'm so happy for you. What a great drive.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy, so proud of the whole team of what we've done today, because we came into this weekend thinking it was going to be the most difficult weekend of the year, and suddenly came out with a podium out of it. We nailed the race pace. I was super quick, much better than expected. We nailed the strategy, we nailed the tire management, nailed the start, nailed all the defending and management, and that brought us an unexpected podium. So I'll be more proud.
And the team delivered you a great pit stop and somehow fed you back into the plane.
That's why we got everything right today. You know, we had a tough first half of the season where things didn't go together, but we improved in so many areas during the year. And today there were opportunities out there to grab, and we grabbed all of them by executing a perfect race. And yeah, honestly, I were the moon with this podium because I absolutely didn't expect it.
Well done again. Mac, a word. Can you do this? Can you still take the World Championship?
Well, it's all possible now. And we'll see. I don't really worry about it too much.
Not too long to wait now. Abu Dhabi next weekend.
Driver, start your
Drafting the Circus program, brought to you by Sinister One Productions. My name is Frank Santorowski. I'll be your host for the next hour as my buddy Richard and I discuss this past weekend in racing, catch you up on the news, and preview next week. This is our next to last show of the season. Formula One will wrap up the last of the major series this coming weekend. Before we get into that, I want to thank the ERA Racing Association, Fox on NASCAR, Professional Bull Riding, and Million Podcast. Thank all of our sponsors there. Richard, so Formula One was in Qatar.
Yeah.
Oscar came in there with guns loaded, won the sprint.
Yeah.
And wasn't able to translate that into a race win.
Nope.
And we saw Max Verstappen grab yet another one. So take us through Qatar really quick. Let's talk about this McLaren pit strategy that's been discussed plenty over the last couple of days.
Yeah, so Qatar was we were in Qatar last weekend, penultimate race of the season, final sprint weekend of the year. Going back a couple of years, it was the site of Oscar Piastri's first win in a sprint race, and it's one of the tracks that suits him, suits his driving style. The modern, big, wide open, very flat, very predictable track does seem to suit his driving style. These tracks are very predictable on the grip levels, and he'd say that's what he's looking for in a car. And he dominated the sprint race on the Saturday, with Lando being second on the grid, I think it was, and then Max was third. Max got ahead of Lando at the start, and they basically ran in formation for the 19 laps or whatever it was for the duration of the sprint race. A couple of little little bits of fighting in the midfield, but nothing amazing. I mean, the track there, Lusail, I think that's how I pronounce it, track.
Yeah.
It's not great. It was one of these tracks that first came along when it stepped in during the COVID season, when, a lot of parts of the world were shut down. Qatar was relatively open for business. So they stepped in and hosted a race, and it was okay. I mean, it was a race. It was better than not racing anywhere, but it just didn't sit. It's a MotoGP track originally. It's been used in the MotoGP world for a number of years, and it's just it's not a Formula One track in terms of drive, action and overtaking opportunities. You've got this kilometer-long start-finish line that they have a drag race down into the first corner, and that's about it, really. Not the most inspiring track in the world, I'm afraid to say.
No.
But they've got to go race, and Oscar doubled down on the pole positions going into the race on Sunday, the feature race, if you like, although they just call it the race rather than anything else. So, and we had a similar situation with the two McLarens. I think it ended up with Oscar and Lando being first and second on the road, with Max in third, I believe, is how they were running for the first few laps of the race. And then lap 7, Nico Hülkenberg made a ambitious move on, I think it was one of the Alpines on Colapinto, I think, and brought out the safety car. Now, there's one thing to note with Qatar. The high occurrence of getting gravel on the track does result in excessive tyre damage, not wear, but damage to the sidewalls of the tyre.
And cuts, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it has been prone in the past to, as you say, punches and cuts. So in collaboration with the FIA, Pirelli mandated a 25-lap limit to tyre life. So you could not run more than 25 laps on a set of tyres. All teams had two sets of tyres left over going into the race weekend. So your first two sets of tyres, so there's 50 laps. It's a 57 lap race, remember. So you got 50 laps on two sets of tyres. So what lap would you want a safety car to come out on if you wanted to get to the end on your two stops? Lap 7. That gives you your 50 laps. You split that in two, you get your 25 lap runs. Lap 7, it was almost like it was scripted to be lap 7. And then the two McLarens sail past the entry to the pit lane. And we're like, is the pit lane closed? No, everybody else is pitting. What are they doing? Where in the semblance of race strategy does staying out when your pit window is open in such a hard and fast setup? If it was a normal race where there was no mandated pit stops, you could see staying out. The guys that had stopped would have had to try to go on to the end of the race. You could have made it a one-stop race, pit halfway through, and then you'd have fresher tyres to the end of the race. I could see that strategy. But with the tyre restrictions, I was blown away when I thought when I saw neither of the McLarens pit, I genuinely thought pit lane was closed. No other logical reason why they'd stayed out. And of course, as soon as they stay out, everybody else pits and they're sitting ducks for the rest of the race. Yeah, they had a bit of a charge back at the end when they were able to pit with, 15 laps to go to give them a bit of a window of opportunity to try and push on the, Piastri, for example, to push on Verstappen. Lando was a little bit further back down in the pack. He was behind Sainz, who'd finished third, and Antonelli, who was fourth. Lando was fifth for a long period. Then Antonelli had just made a mistake with a couple of laps to go, and Lando got past. So he ended up finishing fourth with Piastri second.
That's another thing that's caused a bit of controversy. There are some that tried to say following the race that he let Lando by, and obviously both Red Bull and Mercedes, says absolutely not the case. He just made a mistake. People want to build a conspiracy where they think one is there, but I mean, what does Antonelli have to gain by throwing some points towards Lando? Nothing. Sure. Nothing.
For sure. So. I think that what we saw. Now, there was two instances that have been drawn into focus. One is the conversation between Max Verstappen's race engineer and Max at the end of the race saying, "Oh, I don't know what happened, but it looked like Antonelli just pulled over and let Lando Norris through." Now, that is a off-the-cuff comment between a race engineer and a driver in the heat of battle. I don't read anything into that. Not for the first time, we've seen Helmut Marko make unacceptable comments.
Well, yeah.
In the media that have had a direct impact on the public perception of another driver. The fact that the driver Antonelli, the driver in question, Antonelli here, had to deactivate his social media accounts, and we could talk about the merits of social media. All day long. But
we've seen this.
Yes.
Gosh, we saw the same thing with the
guy INDYCAR guys,
the Argentinian guy.
Yeah. But by no stretch of the imagination is that behavior acceptable from anybody. And unfortunately, people like Helmut Marko are in the public eye. They fuel that division.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's becoming, it's a modern play. It's the part of the modern playbook in society now about how to, get your opinion across rather than have a constructed argument that deals with facts. You just insult somebody and everybody jumps on the bandwagon. It is genuinely unacceptable. And unfortunately, this isn't the first time we've seen this with Helmut Marko. He's made some very disparaging comments in the past. The comments he made about Isaac Hadjar at the end of the Australian Grand Prix at the start of this year, when he, it was his mistake, but he crashed out on the formation lap, I think it was.
Yeah, first Grand Prix.
Just totally unacceptable for somebody like that in that position, and it shows. Now, rightly or wrongly, for all of Christian Horner's shortcomings as the team principal, he would never have made a comment like that.
No.
He did have a certain amount of decorum about him. In the public eye, anyway. Privately, well, we won't go there. But, it shows how the axis of that mentality and playbook is now dominating Red Bull. You've got obviously the sort of Helmut Marko, Jos Verstappen triumphant of egos and personalities is obviously dominating that team now. It's and the team principal now, obviously, Christian Horner's shoes are big shoes to fill, but Lauren Mecky's, he's just a yes man, and he's not going to say anything against anything that Helmut Marko would say or what Jos Verstappen would say. Whereas in the past, Christian Horner probably would have come out publicly and said, we don't support those. If you look at the press release from Red Bull, that is very politically diluted and like. So obviously they don't want to upset anybody. But yeah, it's really, really disappointing that a company like that, with the public image that it has, still has people very senior in their organization that makes comments like that, and there's no ramifications and no repercussions for it. I mean, we're not talking about what's a woke culture. We're talking about common decency here and respecting another human being who's trying to do their best, and to put that out in the public domain is shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. So so was Max winning the race? Oscar came home second. Carlos Sainz, another podium on the season for him.
Fantastic performance. Yeah.
Secured fifth place in constructor points for Williams, which is the highest they've been in a number of years. Again, this is a team that has several championships in their history in the 80s and 90s, but has been struggling as of late. It was only 2-3 years ago they were the absolute bottom of the grid. So but now they're up there, legitimate contenders. Fifth place, 5th out of 10 teams are right exactly mid-pack. So all the moves they're making are in the right direction. So we're going to go into Abu Dhabi with 3 guys mathematically able to win the title. Lando 408 points, Verstappen 396, Piastri 392. So this thing is close.
Oh yeah.
And the good news for Oscar is that the last 2 times we've had 3 guys eligible or able to win the championship going into the season ender, which would be 2007 and 2010. Both times it was the guy in 3rd place that prevailed and won the championship.
Actually, last week you asked who was the last driver to win the championship having never left the championship, and I said Raikkonen in 7, and you said I was right, but apparently it was Vettel in 10. He'd never led the championship up to the final race.
See, I thought he had led the championship earlier in that season, so.
I thought he had as well, but apparently not. So, well that's what they're saying.
Apparently Frank doesn't know everything, so, but.
I know.
Still a good question, but.
Very good question, yeah.
So, if Piastri wins the race, he needs the other guys to finish off the podium.
Correct. You struggle to see how that happens.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. At least one of those guys will make the podium.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. You could see if you know, for hypothetically, if Max wins, you could see George Russell coming second, Piastri third, and then Lando fourth. Now, it's obviously been everything in the social media.
If Max wins,
yep,
Lando could still finish second or third,
correct,
and take the title, right?
Correct.
But of course, if Lando wins, it's all over. Lando going to win the thing. Yeah. So it's any number of scenarios here, but all three of these guys have a absolute good shot at winning these things because once they run the race, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But Oscar has the most unlikely road to the championship of the two.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair comment there. I think that and of course, there's been the whole thing on everybody's seen it on social media. If Max is leading and Oscar's third and Lando's fourth on the last lap, does Oscar let Lando pass to win the championship?
Yep.
What do you think he'd do?
I don't know.
I think he'd let him pass.
So then the other ones on to say there was 2 cars behind Oscar, and
two's a different one. Yeah,
yeah, and would he let 2 cars pass to get Lando up there?
Yeah, I don't know about 2, but definitely 1. I think if that was the situation, and I think that I think Oscar would genuinely let him through. I think Oscar, because his championship's done. In that situation, he knows that he's he's out of it. So why?
Yeah, Max is up there leading. He's out. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just spiting the team, and that's creating a division that you don't need to create. And who knows what happens in the future? It may come back the other way around. It may be
absolutely
the boots on the other foot, as it were. So, I would imagine that Oscar would do the right thing, and let him through.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he wants to retain his job for next year. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, somebody else made the comment that McLaren's already won the Constructors Championship, and they don't care about the Drivers' Championship. I would tend to disagree with that because I think the the Drivers' Championship has a bigger focus on it, and I think that's a definite feather in the cap. Yeah.
So the thing is, we talked about this for a while. Obviously, the Drivers' Championship is what gets the public engagement and the sponsorship engagement. But when you're a team, when the Constructor Championship performance is where all the money comes from. As we saw, I think it was last year when Max won the championship, but Red Bull actually finished 4th in the Constructors. The stuff that is determined by championship position is all on the team championship. So their wind tunnel allocation, for example, would have been based on a 4th place car. So both, I believe it's Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren, who finished above them, will have got less wind tunnel time than Red Bull. So it's all about the Constructors Championship. So fundamentally, Zach Brown, as long as one of his drivers wins, I think, given the car's performance, they'll be able to take a step back and go, yeah, it was a successful year. But yeah, they don't really get into drivers' championships. Obviously, from a public standpoint, they do, but in the inner workings of a team, no.
Well, I mean,
especially when
the only way I see this ending is with Max winning the championship. Unfortunately, he's the golden child. He just things tend to go his way.
Yeah.
I'd love to see McLaren win a championship. It's been since 2008 with the Hamilton, since they've won one.
Yep.
So I'd love to see them, because they've took a big dive in took them a while to crawl back to the top.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at you talk about
they were in
Williams
shambles
being,
for a while. Yeah,
I mean, you talk about Williams being at the bottom. You know, McLaren were down there when Honda first came back in.
Yes, they were.
And you know, I think that it's I personally, I think Max is the favorite.
Yeah.
The only thing is, what does Lando do? You know, I think he has the car underneath him to have a top 3 finish without any hesitation, and I'd expect that's the only thing. You know, I think is does Lando finish in the podium? I don't think he's going to win the race. I think Verstappen, he's just got the momentum behind him, and he's got that extra bit. You know, and we saw in Qatar, you know, winning championships breeds that confidence, that mentality. And if we see a similar situation to what we saw in Qatar with the safety car and an inopportune moment, Red Bull don't make those mistakes because they're so used to it. It's not because, you know, this is the thing. It's not because they're better than anybody else. It's because they don't panic. They know what to do. They're rehearsed. They're efficient. They don't question themselves. You know, they all have, and these aren't, God forbid, these are not human decisions anymore. You know, these are all decisions that are loaded into these supercomputers that perform millions of race simulations, you know, literally overnight between the end of qualifying and the start of the race. These supercomputers will run hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of race scenarios and optimize your strategy. And then these things are being optimized in real time. You know, every lap, every corner, you know, depending on where people are, what the gaps are. If you pit, where will you come out? You know, they get so much information in real time that you don't have a guy sat on the pit wall anymore going, ooh, I think we do this. You know, as soon as the safety car comes out, they will have been given their tool. Chances are their tool would have said, stay out.
Mm-hmm.
So now what that does is if we see another situation, they're going to start second guessing that tool. They're going to be like, oh, you know, if it says pit, well, do we, you know, it screwed us last week, you know, do we still pit? Oh boy, you know, do we stay out? You know, it's going to sow those seeds of doubt. And Red Bull haven't had that. You know, they've been like, well, geez, in the last 15 years, we've won, you know, 8 world championships. So yeah, we're going to trust our tools.
You know, it's really interesting how in this current version of Formula One, you know, there's more often than not, once somebody wins a championship, they'll win a string of them. You know, other than Rosberg, who abruptly retired. I mean, if you look at it, Chad, you know, you got Max before him, it was Lewis, Vettel, Schumacher. You know, if you go to the 70s and 80s, you know, winning 2 titles back to back was very, very rare.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think Prost did it and Senna. But before that, I mean, you know, all through the 70s, nobody won them back to back. You know, they were all like Jackie Stewart every other year, Emerson Fittipaldi every other year. You know, so it's just wild how they kind of build these dynasties. You know,
and I think it's the nature of the sport. You know how. You know, how critical the performance and how critical the results are for the sport now because of the amount of money involved fundamentally. You know, as we say, you look at Red Bull, for example, if Red Bull put in, you know, $100 million, they want $200 million back out of it. So remove, you know, they naturally try and remove the error and the likelihood of them not winning. So they will go and like find every minute detail that they can to help them be successful. And we're starting to see that.
Absolutely. So speaking of Max, it was announced that Max will have a new teammate next year.
Yep.
The latest guy to be taken to the Coliseum and thrown to the Lions will be Isaac Hadjar. But my gosh, I mean, look at the teammates that just couldn't match up to Max. We had Gasly, Albon, Perez, Lawson, now Tsunoda. I mean, what makes you think Hauger is going to do any better? I mean, the kid's got talent. He's had some really good runs this year. But again, I feel like he's going right into the pressure cooker. Or like I said, going to the Coliseum to be fed to the Lions. So
you're not wrong.
But there you go. So that's that.
Yeah.
So Yuki Tsunoda said he'd do everything to help Max win a championship. I'm like, well, it's really tough for you to help when you're 15 position behind him all the time. But
yep,
you know. So, of course, Yuki's name has been linked to the one remaining seat in INDYCAR with Dale Coyne, with funding from Honda. Whether or not that comes to fruition remains to be seen, because the statement Yuki made today is that he'll be Red Bull's reserve driver, and he'll be doing everything to prove that he belongs in Formula One again. So it doesn't sound like he wants to make the jump to INDYCAR. But
no, I mean, I think while that door's still open, if you like, to him, I think he's gonna, try and take advantage of it. I mean, we remember, with who was it? Alex Albon.
Yeah.
After he'd been, punted from the Red Bull program, he went off and did the, test driver, reserve driver thing. And if you remember back to it, what actually got him back into Formula One and into contention with the race seat was when Hamilton and Verstappen had the coming together at the British Grand Prix in Silverstone.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They claimed that they went back out with Albon the next day on an older car and tried to drive Hamilton's line, and they said it was impossible for him to take the corner without hitting Verstappen. And apparently during that test, he set some really, really fast lap times and, impressed a lot of people, which, opened up the door for him to get back into that Williams seat. And he's, flourished for the last,
he's done well.
few years there in that probably a little bit more benign environment of Williams compared to to the the pressure cooker of that Red Bull seat. So I think I think that fundamentally whoever is in that second seat alongside Max, because of the way the car is developed and because of Max's driving style, it's almost impossible, and it's getting, I don't want to say worse, that's the wrong word, but they're getting more and more extreme, and they're getting harder and harder for, because Max has this such precise driving style that, for other drivers to come along and be able to compete in the same car, it's almost impossible. And it's a thankless task. And did I think Hauger do any good? I think Hauger is a very, very good driver with a huge amount of potential, but again, we've talked about this in the past. The Red Bull conveyor belt of young drivers, unless your name is Max Verstappen, is actually killing their
careers.
Prospect at the top. You look at the number of drivers that have gone through that program, and the number of them who have been outed as the next big thing, and then disappeared into nothing. I mean, some of them have even given up driving. Jaime Alguersuari, who was really highly rated when he came along, is now a DJ. The guy gave up driving altogether because of it. So, I don't know, as I say, unless you name Verstappen, it's a horrible place to be, I think.
All right, so I'm already on record as saying I think that Verstappen's going to win this thing.
Yep.
How do you feel? You feel the same?
I think it's the same. As long as Lando doesn't do anything stupid, and they get that, they get into a rhythm during the race, I think he's got a podium locked in for Lando. If it all starts to go a little wobbly, then I think Verstappen's the guy. I think Russell will be on the podium. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. good for first time since 2021 that the Drivers' Championship goes down to the last race in Formula One. So, and we don't need a playoff system to it either, which is great.
Yeah.
Nope.
So,
You
all
don't need
right.
more
So
checker inside.
here's one final Formula One question for you.
Okay.
Do you think Abu Dhabi is the best place to have a season ender?
Hell no.
Or should we bring it back somewhere else?
Oh God! Again, it's one of these modern, like, hospital ward style racetracks. They're terrible places to go racing. Absolutely awful. I'd go somewhere else. Obviously, given that you can do it in Europe, so whether it's time of year, but go to Malaysia.
Your audio is really garbled. I don't know.
Has it done this again? Give me 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen.
Look like you froze there.
Hang on, let me just.
Well, while Richard's working on his audio situation here, we'll move over to INDYCAR, talk a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, much better. Okay, so
maybe want the AirPods going cheap.
What do you say?
Yeah, quite.
Okay. All right, INDYCAR news. Juncos Hauger Racing announces they will retain StingRay Robb after they didn't put him on their website for 2026, which means that I guess that was up in the air for a little while, which gave Connor Daly fans hope that Connor would be retained. But no, they're going to take Stingray and Stingray's money. Connor Daly, for his part, put a statement on his social media mentioning the fact that he had the highest finish the team has ever had, has scored the most points of any driver on that team. He has the highest Indy 500 qualifying and Indy 500 finish that the team has ever had, and he outscored his teammate in 15 of 16 races last year. So
when has that had anything to do with it?
Huh?
When has that had anything to do with it?
No, not for a team that's struggling for funding. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
I found that statement a little childish almost. He's been around the sport long enough to know how the bread's buttered.
Yes.
It's like, what did you expect, dude? Come on. It was a bit pathetic and a little whiny, I thought, Yeah,
either way. So, again, the only seat available on IndyCar is the one for coin, other than any one-off Indy 500 rides, which I would imagine Connor Daly will find himself in a one-off Indy 500 ride. He always performs well at Indy, and there'll be a couple of those seats available. All right, so in NHRA, John Force signed Alexia DeJoria for 2026, adding a third funny car to his stable. Still no word on what he's doing with the dragster thing with the what was that guy's name? Austin Prock leaving the team. So that's your NHRA news. So which brings us to NASCAR, and we'll do our NASCAR year in review here. But let's start off by talking about what's dominating all the racing news this week, other than Formula One, is the 23XI and NASCAR trial has begun. We're in day 3 of the trial. We've seen some testimony from Denny Hamlin was up on the stand, and Scott Prime was up there. Who's the other guy? The guy from
the owner of Front Row.
Bob Jenkins.
Yep.
Not the broadcaster Bob Jenkins, but the Bob Jenkins, the owner. I want to say, like NASCAR pulled some illegal moves, against the courtroom rules with Jenkins' testimony and brought up stuff from his personal businesses that was supposed to be off limits. They introduced evidence that wasn't approved by the court, and they got a stern warning from the judge. So far, this thing is not going NASCAR's way.
No,
and there's a lot of they're getting exposed on a lot of fronts. So Richard, what are your thoughts? I mean, you were pretty articulate pre-show. So
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, for 75 years, you know, fundamentally NASCAR has been, you know, the circus master, whatever, but the ringleader. You know, that they've been in control of everything, and now they've come up against somebody who, you know, especially in Michael Jordan, does not lose. You know, fundamentally, and he has the, you know, like a Hollywood movie with the, you know, the lawyers all marching into the courtroom. These guys are the superstars, you know, of the legal world when it comes to you know, sport legalities and contract law in the sporting world. You know, I believe the same guys took on the MLB and beat them, and you know, they've taken on the NBA and won. So you know, these guys.
Yeah. And then they got OJ off.
What do you mean got him off? He was innocent. Damn it.
I kid.
But no, it was you know, they're you know, it's just, yeah, they're not the big players in the courtroom that they think they are anymore, and they're being found out for it. You know, and I think they're almost at times have argued themselves into a corner and argued themselves, you know, the whole concept of monopoly. They keep saying, oh, we're the premium stock car series in the world. Okay, what else can go and compete in? All they'll say is they know full well that it is a monopoly, and all they will say is we're the premium stock car series in the world. They won't actually admit that there is nowhere else for these guys to go race. So it's
they go race in Brazil, you know,
or the European NASCAR series or whatever it is. You know,
yeah,
it's, you know. You know, they were trying to make Denny out to be the bad guy by like, so, oh, you know, you earn a lot more money than most NASCAR drivers, and he said, well, I win a lot more races than most NASCAR drivers,
and he's not wrong. No. He's not wrong.
No, so. I mean, you know, he's perfectly you know, entitled to make those claims. So I think that, you know, it's probably going to be a couple of weeks, I think, the trial, so probably be over after we you know, go off air for the year. But the fear obviously is that if it plays out the way it's looking, it will do at the moment. And 2311 and Front Row, Front Row win the legal claim against NASCAR. How much damage can this do to the sport long term? You know, what happens? And we talked about this. You know, the judges even sort of raised the possibility that the whole charter system is illegal. Now, you know, the teams obviously use the concept of, you know, we have 2-3 charters worth 10, 15, $20 million each. They use that as collateral and leverage when it comes to loans and financial accounting. So if the judge turns around and says, sorry, boys, these are worth nothing, then every team is going to sue NASCAR for the value of the charter. So it could have massive detrimental impact on NASCAR. And almost, I don't know what NASCAR's valued at, but they probably could afford it. I mean, I don't know, I can't remember the number of charters that are out there, but say there's 30 charters out there worth, you know, $10 million each, going $15 million, you know. With the amount of property that NASCAR owns, they could probably cover it, I think. But it would leave a really nasty case.
It would hurt.
It would probably result in a complete overhaul of the NASCAR hierarchy, and the board and everybody that's involved in the senior management of the sport. I think they'd all fall by the wayside pretty quickly. And I hate to say it, but you'd get proper sports people in there who run sport or run sports series properly and professionally in the past, not run it as it appears to be, the good old boys club, which they seem to have it set up at the moment.
Yeah, interesting to note that, like the NFL and Major League Baseball, NBA, they all have franchise systems, but nobody's ever challenged that.
No.
So because
I think they're just in general a lot fairer.
Yeah, it's a fair and equitable system that, because yeah.
So even you saw by the comments from, some of the NASCAR guys, they see somebody like, for example, Richard Childress as somebody that they can just take advantage of. Because he's not a businessman fundamentally. And they said in some of the text messages that got released, we're just taking advantage of these guys. That's certainly not going to help their claim.
No, so even one of the NASCAR people brought up the IRL kart split in the testimony there, and they said, at the end of the day, the team's got a better deal. No, they didn't actually. No. Actually, the sport struggled for years, and they're still struggling to get back to where they once were.
Geez, so, if you're trying to show that an IndyCar is a successfully run sporting series, you're scraping the barrel big time there.
Yeah.
They're a sports series with a very good product, but as we've discussed for a number of years now, they do have a habit of stepping on their own dick pretty easily.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so we'll have to see how that plays out. So, NASCAR 2025 in review. Kyle Larson wins the championship. Yep. So,
of course, bring it up. Appreciate it.
Of course, the prevailing news is that
can we do the NASCAR Cup review minus the last 5 laps of Phoenix, please?
Sure.
Cool.
Okay, so Kyle Larson didn't win shit. Denny Hamlin comes home with the championship.
There you go.
There you go. So I guess the big prevailing story is that next year we won't have the same playoff system.
I don't know if we are we? We're going to have a playoff system. I don't know if it's going to be the same.
It won't be the same. They're talking wholesale changes. Nobody's saying what the changes are. But
so what I heard, the latest rumor that I heard is it's going to be a 4-race aggregate at the end of the season. So rather than having a 1-race shootout like we had in Phoenix, it's going to be a 4-race aggregate with 6 drivers in it, I think.
Okay.
You're still going to have 16 drivers in the playoff, 9 races in the playoffs, but slightly different structure to it. But it'll still be they're still gonna bias it and weight it towards a winner takes all sort of situation. Obviously that's not the ultimate solution. We need to still work on some of the other things, like get rid of the green white checker crap that they throw at us. That's. It's fun during the regular season because it, nicks you a win and great, all this sort of stuff. But you don't want championships decided that way. You really, really, really don't. And, you look at the damage that, Formula One did. We go back to it in Abu Dhabi in 2021. Lewis Hamilton should have won that championship. They manipulated the race result.
Absolutely,
they manipulated the end of the race to get a result, not the right result. Verstappen fundamentally didn't deserve to win that race in Abu Dhabi because Hamilton outdrove him. Larson didn't deserve to win that race or win the championship in Phoenix because Hamlin fundamentally outdrove him. So they've got to do something, I think, to address that and reward. Reward performance. And we were talking about this at work the other day. You look at the current Gen 7 car, and for all its failings, it's way more suited to a championship format like Formula One, like IndyCar, than the Gen 6 car. It's a far more level playing field. And I think you'd get closer championship. I don't think you'd have, a structure where somebody would run away with it with 5 races to go. maybe you'd get somebody win it with the race to go. But if you structured the points, enough, you could still have a situation where, a driver crashes out at the start of the final race and somebody wins and they come from a long way back to claim the championship. So I think with this car, a aggregate championship is far more presentable than with some of the older cars.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the, one race to decide it all is that, that works fine in NFL, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's worked hard to get there. You eliminate everybody else along the way. But, I mean, in NASCAR, you got 4 guys still in it. Why are we taking it to one race?
Yeah.
Because I always like to say, the possibility exists that the 4 guys crash into one another on the opening lap, and whoever grinds to a halt, farthest past the finish line wins the championship.
Yep.
So how exciting would the rest of that race be to watch?
Yep.
So, and again, there's situations in stick and ball sport where, somebody's come out of nowhere and end up with a championship. But that's how you play the game there.
It's a different...
you could have a mediocre season come alive in the playoffs. I mean, gosh, how many times have we seen Team Penske do that?
Yeah.
So.
And all these other sports are, for want of a better word, one-on-one. They're not 1-on-30. That you see in motorsport. So, there's so many of the variables that you can throw at it. I've never liked it in reality, and
no, it doesn't translate well.
No, I think they're trying to. I think and we've talked about this on the show plenty of times. The reason it was brought in was because of Jimmy Johnson's dominance and all this sort of stuff. You know what? Jimmy won in the playoff system as well. But the
reason the playoffs, the original was when Matt Kenseth won the championship with only winning one race, and he clinched early. As you so far ahead, that's where the chase started. Before they called it the playoffs, it was the chase.
But it's is it their fault? Kenseth's fault for playing the game and doing what you needed to do to win the championship. It's not. Very rarely would you have an aggregate championship, and the person that wins the championship, you come at the end of the season and go, well, he wasn't the best driver. Now what? Then you got to, what defines best? The most wins, the most poles, the most fastest laps. You've got to reward consistency.
Yeah, to come in every week and walk out on Sunday evening with points, that's how it's done. And a lot of guys have done that. Dixon, Prost, the guys known for point racing, but then there's other guys that are really flashy. They either win or DNF.
Yep.
So, and those guys rarely win championships.
Yep.
So, I don't know what the answer is, but you don't see people bitching about the the playoff system in INDYCAR or Formula One.
No, you don't need it. You don't need it.
You don't need it. So, all right. Other than that, what were some of your highlights of the season? What was your?
Oh,
obviously, I'm gonna take a stab and say that Bell taking 3 in a row early in the season was a high point for your Toyota guys there.
That was pretty good. I think probably one of the most pleasing things from our perspective was actually Corey Haim's performance in the truck series. Obviously, a very, very, very good car or truck, very good team with Tricon. But even when he did step up, and outside of the Chicago race where he didn't qualify, but the races where he did compete in, he was up there in the mix. I think he had a top 10 in the fall Bristol race, which is a phenomenal achievement for a rookie driver in a cup car, given especially the tire issues we were seeing at that race. You know, he did a great job in nursing that car home, while some of the more experienced drivers were floundering, should we say? So that for me, I think, was one of my highlights of the year was Corey's performance. And you know, having worked with him quite a bit this year on some of the other stuff, he's a great kid as well. And you know, I really do hope, you know, he steps up next year. I think he's got a few more cup rides coming up next year. And yeah, we really want to see, you know, see him grow as a driver. You know, Chase Briscoe's performance as well was a highlight, as I think.
Yeah, Chase has really come into his own. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he started off slow for sure, but coming into that team, you know, coming into an organization like JGR is quite a not a hostile environment, that's the wrong word, but quite intimidating. And it took him a little while to get going, but then I think he had the most pole positions of the year. You know, won 2 or 3 races out there at least. So yeah, great performance by Chase, and it'll be, you know, hopefully he doesn't have that like second season syndrome where he drops off a little bit next year. Hopefully he can, excuse me, keep that momentum going, and yeah, bringing it into next year. That, you know, from a Toyota perspective, I think they were probably the highlights of the year.
Well, I think one of the highlights of the year, you know, one of the most exciting young drivers to kind of come into the series is Connor Zilic.
Yeah,
I mean, this kid has just come in and he dominated in the Xfinity series. It didn't win the championship because of you know, talk about that playoff system again. But I think here's a kid who's gonna turn heads and really be one of the sport's future superstars.
Yeah.
You know, so
oh yeah, kid's got something about him for sure.
yeah, there's just something there that you know, and of course, seeing the SVG win 5 races this year, I mean that was kind of crazy. All the road course races,
Yeah.
you know, but even in like his first year, he won the 1, which kind of surprised everybody. But it didn't surprise him because of where he's coming out of. But to totally dominate most of the road course section of the, you know, the schedule, pretty damn impressive. But we need to get this guy to figure out how to his way around an oval.
And he's getting better.
He's getting better, absolutely. It's almost blown my mind that some of these guys that come out of Formula One and go to INDYCAR catch on to oval so quickly.
I think
which is odd, but guys in like NASCAR, it takes a while to figure out the ovals. I mean, just think about, you know, Nigel Mansell was great on ovals. Emerson Fittipaldi's first INDYCAR win was on an oval.
You know why that is, don't you?
Huh?
You know why that is?
Tell me.
Big balls.
Okay. Yep. There you go.
I don't think many race car drivers were bigger than Nigel when it came to, you know, his commitment to racing.
Yeah, Nigel was a special kind of driver. Yep. So he was fun to watch. He was fun to watch when he was winning. He was fun to watch when he was frustrated. You know, some of his meltdowns are epic. So.
Oh, aren't they just? Yeah.
Yeah. So the rules are largely unchanged next year for NASCAR. We'll see a couple of people in new seats. Again, Connor Zilic will move up full time to the Cup Series. I think SVG is going to be full time as well. I think he was kind of only about 70% this year.
No, he was full time.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he just ran 2 different car numbers.
Yeah. Suarez has obviously gone to front row.
Right.
What other changes have we got? I don't think there's many major changes.
Nothing
really.
major. Yeah, most of the teams will come back looking much the same as they did in 2025. So, you know, with the same lineups there. So, you know, and Austin Cindric still surprised me that he's still taking up that Penske seat. You know, although he has had flashes, but you know, he does have 2 race wins on the books, you know.
Yeah.
But when you compare him to the performance of his 2 teammates, he's obviously lacking And he no longer has the nepotism there of his dad running the show. So, much as I like Austin Cindric, I wonder if he's feeling like a square peg in a round hole right now.
It must be pretty uncomfortable, mustn't it?
Yeah. So,
but I think that's you look at the guys that he's up against in that camp. Similar with the Chase Briscoe scenario.
Oh yeah,
you've got the you've got a 3-time champion and a champion in his own right in that camp. It must be pretty intimidating when you're at a drivers' meeting and you think, do I say anything? Because if these guys don't agree with me, they're just going to shoot me down in flames pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Chase and Cindric both had very similar. They're taking over the car of a well-known driver. In Austin's case, it was Keselowski. Then, of course, Chase Briscoe taking over for Martin Truex. Those guys were stalwarts of the sport. Won a lot of races. They each won a championship. So it's big shoes to fill.
Yep.
But for Chase's part, I think he's coming along just as he should. I think he's got a great career ahead of him. He's really moving in the right direction. So, all right, one bold prediction for NASCAR next year.
Bold prediction for NASCAR next year.
Yeah.
Can I give you 2?
Yes. Yeah, because you could have Jessica's.
Ty Gibbs makes the final round of the playoffs or whatever we have.
Okay, that's bold.
And Chase Elliott doesn't win a race.
Not as bold, but still.
I think Chase Elliott may retire pretty soon.
Really?
You look at him in interviews, he just doesn't have it. Ever since he broke his leg at that skiing accident.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have it. He doesn't have that. I mean, he's never been the most colourful character in the world. He's never been the life and the soul of the party. But you look at his body language and his demeanour, it's just meh.
Yeah.
So yeah, too big. Let's go real big then. Let's say Chase retires at the end of next year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about Joseph Newgarden. He seems like he doesn't have his heart in it anymore. So that's why. So bold prediction from me. Kyle Busch retires.
Yeah.
I think he's about had it. And I want to say Van Gisbergen wins an oval.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Gotta be scary if he does, wouldn't it?
Yeah. If he figures out ovals, the other guys are in trouble. So
yeah.
All right. So that's got us to the end of the hour.
Yep.
Neatly packaged up. Jessica, hope you're feeling better. Lee, hope you're doing well with your
who?
Lee, the guy that used to be on the show, the guy that loves.
I thought it was just some homeless guy that came and rocked up and
Crystal Meth Santa Claus.
Crystal Meth Santa Claus.
All right, Lee. I miss you. Jessica, hope you feel better. We'll be back on in 1 week. It'll be our last week of the show, our last show of the year.
Yep.
Rather. But again, thanks to the ERA Racing Association, NASCAR on Fox, Professional Bull Riding. Thank to Million Podcast. Thank you to Facebook Live, YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok. I want to thank Sinister One Productions and our producer, Keith Hayes. Thank you, Richard. Well, nobody left there to thank. Jessica not feeling well. Lee left us hanging. So, but certainly I want to thank you folks that tuned in and listened to us from around the world. Enjoy the race this week, and it will be we'll be back on one more time this year, and then we'll take ourselves a break. Good night.
Thanks for watching Drafting the Circuits. Make sure to follow Drafting the Circuits on Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube. Drafting the Circuits is a Code Sinister One production.